What if the next pizza you order comes with more than just extra cheese? Behind the familiar logos, family deals, and fresh ingredients promises, some major pizza chains have faced contamination recalls, outbreak investigations, and emergency ingredient pullbacks that most customers barely remember. Listeria, E. coli, supplier scandals that quietly rippled through kitchens across the country. In the next few minutes, we're breaking down 7 pizza chains with documented safety controversies, and the one chain that stands out for doing things differently. Because once you hear what's happened behind the scenes, you may never choose pizza the same way again. Number 7. Jets Pizza. Jets Pizza built its reputation on Detroit-style deep dish, thick crust, crispy caramelized edges, and that hometown feel that makes it seem a step above the typical delivery chain. For many families, it feels local, familiar, safe. But in 2021, that image ran into a serious problem. During a multi-state Listeria outbreak investigation, pre-cooked chicken supplied by Tyson Foods was recalled after contamination was detected. Reports at the time listed several restaurant chains that had used the affected product, including Jets. The recall involved fully cooked chicken items, the kind customers assume are safe because they've already gone through a heat process. That's what made this unsettling. Listeria isn't like most bacteria, can survive and even grow in refrigerated conditions. For healthy adults, symptoms might feel like a bad flu. But for older adults, pregnant women, or anyone with a weakened immune system, it can lead to severe complications and hospitalization. Now, to be clear, recalls are part of the food safety system working when contamination is discovered. But this situation exposed something bigger: how even regional chains rely on massive national suppliers. When one supplier has a breakdown, the impact doesn't stay contained. It spreads across brands, menus, and cities almost overnight. For customers who believed choosing a smaller, regional favorite meant tighter oversight, that realization hit hard. The logo may look local, but the supply chain behind it can be anything but. And Jets wasn't the only familiar name caught in that outbreak. Not even close. Number 6. Marco's Pizza. Marco's Pizza has always positioned itself as a cut above the typical delivery chain. Authentic Italian roots, higher quality ingredients, a brand that promises something more traditional, more premium, more carefully crafted than the big-budget competitors. That polished image made what happened in 2021 far more uncomfortable. During the same multi-state Listeria outbreak linked to contaminated pre-cooked chicken from a major supplier, reports listed Marco's among the chains that had received the affected product. But according to recall summaries at the time, certain products sold under the Marco's brand name were also included in the broader contamination alert. And that's where eyebrows started to raise. When contamination traces back to an outside supplier, it's one thing. But when items carrying your own brand are pulled into a recall notice, it raises deeper questions about oversight, verification, and how closely ingredients are monitored once they enter your system. Listeria isn't a minor issue. It's one of the more dangerous foodborne bacteria tracked by health officials because it can survive refrigeration and hit vulnerable groups especially hard. Older adults and people with weakened immune systems face significantly higher risks of severe complications. To be clear, recalls exist to protect consumers, and there's no public evidence suggesting Marco's ignored the issue once identified. But the situation highlighted something many customers never think about. Premium branding doesn't automatically mean independent testing or tighter supplier control. The comforting narrative of better ingredients can quickly collide with the reality of centralized food production. And as more names surfaced in that same outbreak investigation, it became clear this wasn't an isolated case. It was part of a much bigger pattern. Number 5. Little Caesars. Little Caesars built an empire on one simple promise: hot, ready, affordable. No waiting, no planning, just grab a box and dinner is handled. For busy families, that convenience became a weekly routine. But convenience has faced its own scrutiny. In 2021, during the same Listeria outbreak tied to recalled pre-cooked chicken from a major supplier, reports listed Little Caesars among the chains that had received the affected products. That meant certain chicken pizzas were potentially connected to the broader contamination investigation. And that wasn't the only time the brand appeared in recall headlines. Years earlier, in 2010, Canadian health authorities announced a voluntary recall involving spice packs distributed to Little Caesars locations due to possible Salmonella contamination discovered during routine testing. Different country, different supplier, different bacteria. To be clear, recalls don't automatically mean wrongdoing. They're part of how the safety system works when risks are identified. But when a brand shows up in multiple unrelated contamination events over time, it naturally raises questions about supplier vetting and oversight consistency. Listeria and Salmonella aren't minor stomach bugs. For vulnerable groups, they can lead to serious complications that require medical treatment. And when you're choosing pizza because it feels easy and predictable, headlines like these can shake that sense of certainty. Because when speed and scale drive the business model, even a small crack in the supply chain can travel fast. And the next chain on this list faced a recall that hit even closer to home. Number 4. Papa John's. Papa John's spent decades repeating one phrase: better ingredients, better pizza. It wasn't just a slogan, it was the backbone of their entire brand identity. Premium image, higher standards, a promise that what you're eating is a step above the rest. But in 2023, that promise was tested. Federal food safety officials announced a recall involving ready-to-eat salad products that had been distributed to Papa John's locations. The issue traced back to sunflower kernel ingredients that were part of a separate Listeria recall. Once investigators followed the supply chain upstream, the connection became clear, and affected products were pulled. Here's what makes that moment uncomfortable. This wasn't about pizza crust or pepperoni. It involved salad, the item customers often choose when they're trying to eat lighter or healthier. Someone skipping extra cheese and opting for greens likely assumed they were making the safer choice. Instead, that product became part of a contamination alert tied to a supplier further up the chain. To be clear, Papa John's did remove the affected items once notified, and there's no public evidence suggesting they ignored safety warnings. But the situation exposed how complex and layered modern food sourcing really is. One contaminated ingredient from one supplier can ripple through multiple brands before anyone at the restaurant level even realizes there's a problem. And when your marketing centers around better ingredients, customers naturally expect tighter control, stronger oversight, and more proactive safeguards. The recall didn't just affect a menu item. It challenged the brand's core promise. And the next chain faced an emergency response that went even further, pulling a basic topping from stores almost overnight. Number 3. Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut has been a cornerstone of American dining since 1958. Red roofs, checkered tablecloths, family dinners. For generations, it's been the go-to spot for casual pizza nights. That kind of brand familiarity makes any safety alert especially jarring. In October 2024, Pizza Hut faced exactly that. A supplier-linked E. coli 0157 H7 outbreak prompted the chain to remove fresh onions from certain U.S. locations as a precaution. These weren't minor menu tweaks or seasonal changes. This was an emergency response to one of the most dangerous E. coli strains tracked by medical science. E. coli 0157 H7 produces Shiga toxin, which can destroy red blood cells and trigger hemolytic uremic syndrome. For older adults whose kidneys are already under stress, exposure can mean emergency dialysis, extended hospitalization, and even permanent kidney damage. The risk isn't abstract, it's real, immediate, and life-changing. What makes the situation so revealing is that Pizza Hut, despite being a massive, resource-rich chain, was reacting to contamination from a supplier rather than preventing it with independent testing. A basic vegetable topping, one that appears on thousands of pizzas every day, suddenly became a potential threat. For anyone loyal to the brand for decades, this was more than just a recall. It was a breach of trust. The vegetable topping you assumed was safe now highlighted how a single supplier issue can ripple through even the most established food chains. And while Pizza Hut acted quickly to pull the ingredient, the episode raised an unsettling question. If a topping as ordinary as onions can carry deadly bacteria, what other risks might be hiding in plain sight on your pizza? The story doesn't end here. The next chain faced a contamination crisis that reached far beyond a topping, affecting desserts and community trust. Number 2. Pizza Ranch. Pizza Ranch built its reputation as a family-friendly buffet, a place where communities gather after Friday night football games or for church events. That wholesome image made the 2016 E. coli 0157 H7 outbreak especially shocking. Investigators traced the outbreak across 9 states, linking it directly to dessert dough used in Pizza Ranch restaurants. What should have been a simple treat for children's birthdays turned into a serious public health crisis. E. coli 0157. H7 isn't your typical stomach bug. It can cause bloody diarrhea, severe abdominal cramps, and in vulnerable populations like older adults and young children, kidney failure that requires intensive care or even long-term treatment. Pizza Ranch responded by withdrawing the implicated dough as a precaution, but the damage to customer trust ran deeper than temporary menu changes. When a local favorite becomes the center of a multi-state outbreak, families remember the breach of safety long after the product is removed. This wasn't just about one bad batch. It was a stark reminder that even community-focused chains aren't immune to supply chain and handling risks. And for families who trusted Pizza Ranch as a safe gathering spot, the experience was a sobering wake-up call. What happened next on our list reveals a chain that turned convenience into a dangerous gamble, putting raw dough directly into home kitchens. Number 1. Papa Murphy's. Papa Murphy's takes the top spot for a reason, and it isn't just about take-and-bake convenience. In 2023, a multi-state Salmonella outbreak was traced directly to raw cookie dough sold at their locations. This wasn't just a small safety slip. It exposed a serious risk in a product designed for home use. The cookie dough wasn't made for raw consumption. It lacked heat-treated flour and pasteurized eggs, standard safety steps that prevent Salmonella from reaching your kitchen. Families buying it to bake at home had no way of knowing they were handling a product that could make children, older adults, or anyone with a weakened immune system seriously ill. What makes it worse is the marketing. Papa Murphy's emphasizes wholesome home baking, kids helping, fresh ingredients, family involvement. That sense of trust and fun masked a hidden danger. And this wasn't the only time the chain faced a safety issue, showing a troubling pattern of lapses. When your business model relies on customers handling raw dough at home, there's an added responsibility to ensure it's safe. Papa Murphy's repeatedly fell short, turning convenience into a calculated risk. For families, that cookie dough isn't just dessert. It's a potential hazard you didn't sign up for. Next, we'll look at the one pizza chain that gets it right, prioritizing safety, transparency, and trust for every customer. California Pizza Kitchen. If you're wondering which pizza chain actually gets it right, the answer is California Pizza Kitchen. Unlike the others on our list, CPK treats dietary safety and transparency as a core part of its operations, not just a marketing talking point. Their website doesn't just list allergens. It explains how the kitchen handles them, giving customers real insight into preparation practices. Gluten-free crusts are available on request, and vegan cheese is stocked and treated as a standard option, not an inconvenient afterthought. For people with celiac disease, severe allergies, or specific dietary needs, this isn't a trend, it's a matter of health and safety. CPK plans ahead operationally. Staff are trained, ingredients are stocked properly, and menu information is clearly communicated. Families with multiple dietary restrictions can order confidently, knowing their choices won't put anyone at risk. This isn't reactive safety, it's proactive care. Transparent practices, inclusive options, and consistent follow-through make CPK the chain you can trust, the one that prioritizes real customer well-being over convenience or image. For families who want both pizza and peace of mind, California Pizza Kitchen stands out as the safest, most reliable choice on the menu. There you have it, 7 pizza chains with documented contamination histories, recalls, and safety lapses, and one that actually prioritizes transparency and customer well-being. Before your next pizza order, check allergen information, ingredient sourcing, and recall history. Don't rely on logos or marketing promises. Your health and your family's safety deserve honesty, not assumptions. Choose restaurants that plan for safety, communicate clearly, and treat dietary needs as serious priorities, because peace of mind should come with every slice.